All right, so this tutorial is going to show you how to get started on your CO2 car, and the first thing that we're going to do is actually the warm-up. So I'm giving you a little grade for this, the warm-up, and we've got a drawing here that is the CO2 blank. So it's it's got some drawings here, so I'll just walk you through how to do this. So it's basically a rectangle with a line going down the middle. So it's essentially just a rectangle, and you got your sides here. So with the diagonal line. So we're going to draw the rectangle first, and then make the hole in the back, and we'll use these measurements to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Onshape, and in your guys' folders, you should go to one of your folders. Open it up. So I'm going to open up my CO2 car folder, and in this I'm going to create a new document and call it CO2 car. C02 Dragster, whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to start in here. So we'll just start a sketch, and I think front view is the best. And for right now, I'm just going to start with a rectangle. So I'm going to make a big rectangle, and then I'll get my dimension tool out. And we can cut this down later, but we want to start just with this blank. So it's 2.75 tall, and it's 12 long. So that's inches. So make sure that your workspace has been switched back to inches. If it was on millimeters from one of our other warm-ups. So 2.75. Now, before I do this, I'm going to look at my drawing, and it's not actually a rectangle. So I could make another extrusion, but I could just add a line before this. So it's 0.75. So I'm going to take my line like this, take a dimension. So from that point to the bottom, it's going to be 0.75. So now when I extrude this, I can just choose that rectangle. And our depth is 1.625. And we'll click the check and be done with that. That's our main shape. Now we need a place for the canister to go in, so we're going to make a sketch on the back. And if we go back to our drawing, in the right view, we can see that it's 0.8125. It's also in the center, so we can always just center it. It would be really weird if it wasn't, and this is 1.25 from the bottom. That is important because our CO2 needs to line up with the launcher, and then 0.71 is the diameter. So the ones that I need to remember are 1.25 and 0.71, because for this one I'm going to find the middle, go up, make a circle, dimension that 0.71, press enter, and then go from the bottom to here, make sure it's horizontal, 1.25. That's our CO2 hole. So I'm going to extrude that, choose remove, and go in 2 inches. So I've got, this is now done, so you can pull your properties and answer your question. So that's the first part of what we need to do. Now, going on with the CO2, we have to do a couple cuts. So I'm going to require that you have a profile from the side, and the top, and the back to kind of make our CO2 dragster come to life. This is very similar to the initial block that we did at the very beginning. So what we're going to do, I guess we can start. The first thing we need to do is decide where our axles are. And so this is why planning is important. Your drawing, make sure you've thought about how long you want your car to be. We do have some constraints that you have to exist within, so let's go ahead and find the assignment. So we do have to be within 12.5 by 4 by 4, so it can't be longer than that, so we do have to think about that. Also, you don't want to cut into your CO2 holder, so your proportional flyaway, and we do need 2 axle holes that are perpendicular to the body's length at 0.125. So I'm just going to go ahead and start a sketch, and for now I'm doing exactly what I told you guys not to do, but I'm just going to make 2 holes, and I know I can always go back and change this. So 0.125, I'm going to make these equal, and I'm going to dimension this like 1 inch from the back. And this one, I'm going to go from the back because I want my car to be a little bit shorter, like maybe 8 inches. So I'm going to do 7.5 to the front. And then I need a height. So our height should be 0.25 from the bottom. So these are my holes. Now whatever I cut out will leave that. So I'm going to select both of these and remove. And I can choose through all. That's a better option. And now I've got my axle holes. So now I can start making some cuts here to make the shape of my car. So you know, if I had a sketch I was going off of, I would use that. But you know, maybe I want like a round front, I want it to arc up a little bit in the middle. So I'm just going to start kind of drawing here. So I'm going to find the center point of my axle, and I'm going to make it here. I want it to be 8 inches total, so this is the front of mine. So I'm going to make it 8 like that. And that's kind of cool. My axle is going to be like kind of right in the middle there, but I might want to move that over to make my wheels at the very front, or make this stick out further than my wheels, and I can always edit my sketch to do that. So now for my side cut, I'm going to do a spline tool, and I'm just going to kind of make a shape here that I can remove. But I do want to keep in mind, that's not going to work, I'm going to do that again. So spline, make this kind of aerodynamic looking shape. What? Alright, let's try this one more time. Okay. I do want to make sure that I don't cut this out. So what I can do is I can use the U's, and that'll draw in my C02 thing. So I won't cut that out, but we can come back to that too. So now I've got this kind of, you know, how I want the edge of my dragster to look. It is pretty short, and so you want to think about that, like we are racing. Are you sure you want a short car? But now I can go ahead and choose this part. I want to leave that, and I'm going to remove and choose through all. Now it looks kind of blocky because I've only done one cut, but I'm going to go ahead and do one from the top here in a second. But let's do the back now. So I'm going to choose sketch and straight on. And let's say I just want to make it like a circle that's just barely offset from my CO2, but I want to keep the width. So I'm going to make it right here. And then I also want it to, I just want to cut this part off. And then on the bottom, I want to make these 2 different sizes. So what I'm going to do is save the sketch. So I'm going to do extrude, cut here, and I'm going to pull this through and choose remove. So I get a line there. But now I can turn on this sketch, and I'm going to just pull this one, or I can turn it on, and then I can use it for another extrusion. So choose remove this time, but I do not want to cut into my axles, so maybe go to 0.5. Now I've got this kind of rocket looking shape on there. But I don't like how this doesn't look aerodynamic at all, so you know, I could go back to the side and maybe make a sketch here, and I'm going to use this bottom line so I know where the bottom is. I'm just going to add a little arc that is tangent to that, and make that coincident to the bottom. I kind of like how that looks, so I'm just going to roll with it. Extrude here, remove through all. So now I've got that. So now I've got my back and my side cut. So now we're going to do the top, but we don't have a plane on the top right now because we cut it out. We don't have anything flat to sketch on. So what I need to do is create an offset plane, or I can make it from the bottom, but I'm going to do something a little different here. So I'm going to choose my plane, choose the bottom, and I'm just going to drag this up so it's above my car. And now I'm going to choose sketch, and I'm going to make a sketch on the top. And again, I want to know where that C02 thing is because I don't want to accidentally cut it out. So that'll give me a line, and I know it's 2 inches, so it's not projecting everything, but that's fine. I can do that. Now I've got it. So now what I can do is I can make, maybe I want to make the back of my car a little bit thinner. So I can start on the edge here, or I can go, if I know I'm cutting, doesn't matter if it hangs out further. So I'm going to be 0.25 there. I'm going to do that on both sides. Now I've got these that I can cut down, but that's not, I don't want that in its entirety, so I'm just going to leave it. That's one part of my sketch that I'm going to cut down. Maybe I also want some grooves cut into the side, so I'm going to do the U's again, so it'll draw that outline of that face in there, and then I'm going to take some arcs and just make a little aerodynamic. Maybe I'll have it meet there. Then I'll find this, just like the other side, so they're vertically aligned. I'm going to make these equal so they're the same, and then I'm not going to dimension this. I'm just going to kind of drag them till I feel like it's a good radius. I like that. So now I've got 2 parts, so I'm going to do each one a little bit differently. So I'm going to extrude here and here. I'm going to choose remove, and I'm going to pull this all the way down so it cuts through. It's working now. Sometimes you'll have to click merge with all. Sketch 8 went away, so I'm going to turn it back on. And now I can extrude these. So I'm going to choose these rectangles, and I'm going to choose remove. But I'm not going to go as far down this time. I'm just going to kind of go down a little bit. I'm just eyeballing this. So there, now I've got these kind of step sides that look kind of cool. The last thing I'm going to do, I want to add a cockpit here, so like a place where I can put a driver. So I'm going to go back into Sketch 8, and I'm just going to connect these parts here. So I see this shape, and I kind of want this to be the cockpit, but I don't want it to be the whole thing, so I'm going to use an offset. And that's fine. I like that. Press enter. Okay, so now I'm going to extrude. I'm going to choose just this little shape inside. I'm going to do remove, go down, and unfortunately I cut into that wall a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go back into that sketch. I'm going to change this to 0.3. Need a little more, so maybe 0.4. It doesn't like that. Let's try 0.25. Doesn't like that either. That's okay. Just a little cut. That's fine. So now I've got this area where I could put my driver in. And I've got a lot of sketches on, so I'm going to go turn these off. Now I've got my top cut, so I've got 3 cuts. I could be done right now. But I do have to add 3 things. So, you got to think about what do you want to add. You could flatten this part and add a spoiler, or like a wing on the back. You could put a hole in here where you put a little figurine in. You could add a wing on the front. There's a lot of different stuff you could do. But we do have 3 cuts. So we've got our top cut, our back cut, and this could be, a start here. So keep adding on to it. Think about aerodynamics. Think about what challenges you want to win. But I think this is enough to get you started.